Good, La Artistino here. Today we're going to look at a book that has been waiting on my shelf to be reviewed for a long time. And this is, of course, Kerby Rosanes' amazing Animorphia. I first spotted this book sitting on the counter of my local bookstore way back when I first became interested in colouring in. I flicked through it and was intrigued by the combination of realistic animals combined with masses of fun little doodle characters and objects, and I knew that I would have to have a copy. As usual, I've coloured in several pieces using different mediums to give you an idea of how this paper performs, and I will give you a few hints and tips on how I go about colouring these really fun pictures. Okay, inside the front cover we have the first page here. This picture is a slightly reduced picture of one of the 2-page spreads that occurs later on in the book. The next page, which you can see I've done a bit of colouring in this. Okay, this next page I have started to colour in. It's just the little nod to the artist Kerby Rosanes, and another nameplate page where you can put your name. I've not done this with any of my books, I really should. Now this page here I have finished colouring in with Prismacolor pencils. It's not something I use very often, the Prismacolors, but I want to give them a bash in here. So this is mostly Prismacolors, and as you can see they turn out quite nicely. The paper is got a slight tooth in it, which is pretty good, picks up the pencil very well. Now this page here, and I'll go into it a little bit later, but this page here is actually being coloured with budget priced pencils, cheaper pencils, and I'll discuss that a little later as we go on. I haven't quite finished these little hummingbird characters. Actually I've finished colouring them in, I'm just up to colouring in all the foliage around it. Next page we have the publishing information. You'll notice that this page, the picture is the same sort of picture as this one. It's like, well, it is. Kerby's drawn a great big picture, and they've just taken slices of it at different points to put on these 2 pages and on another page at the back. On some of them he's added a feature, like here you've got the raccoon peeking out on this side. The raccoon isn't here, and he's not here either, but there he is over there. So some of the individual characters are moved around, but basically the pictures are the same one throughout each of these 3 pages. So a bit of fun if you want to vary your colouring of a particular page and see what something would have looked like in a different colour. Now the publishing information here, to get back to this particular issue is published by Lom Art, which is an imprint of Michael O'Mara Books, which is in London, Great Britain. There are multiple other versions printed in different countries by different publishing houses, and I'd like to mention a particular version which is published by Plume in the United States, only because that has come up in conversations that I've had. That particular version, unfortunately, is not printed on paper that's the same quality as this one. It's not as good, it's thinner and more prone to bleeding through with wet media, such as markers. This paper isn't. This is quite good with markers. The other problem with the Plume version in the United States is that they have mismatched the centre spreads, where the centres of the spreads are poorly matched up, so that the centre margin of the picture is sometimes omitted. This copy does not have those issues. Moving right along, here is the first of many double-page spreads. If you don't like double-page spreads, this probably isn't the book for you, because the majority of pictures are double-page spreads in this book. And you can see there's his signature combination of a semi-realistic animal figure with lots of random doodling all the way around it. Lots of fun with different colours you can have in this book. The other feature of this book is invitations for you to create more of your own artwork in blank spaces that he's left. This you've seen in several different books, and some people like them. Some people don't, because they don't want to have to do their own drawing. They don't feel confident enough. And there are other ways you can get around it. You don't have to draw in these, you can just colour them in. Or you could just leave it blank if you like and use these areas for writing in. And here is that picture I was telling you about on the first page. This is up full size. And I think you can appreciate all this myriad cacophony of different animals and creatures and things. There's a little laptop there. Where else you can see there's a candle. There's a piece of paper flying around. There's a birdhouse. It's just wonderful what he comes up with in his imagination. Very popular picture of a macaw. I think I'll probably colour this as a scarlet macaw because that's what it sort of suggests to me. Another page where it's asking you to do some doodling in the ram's horns. Again, you don't have to make, if you're doing the doodling, you don't have to make little formed creatures. You could just do swirly patterns or, spirals or dots or anything. Have a look up doodling on the internet or buy a book on doodling and see what you can come up with if you want to take on that particular challenge. This is a fun one, a stampede of animals. And here's a couple of individual pages. There's not many of these. I'm thinking I will probably do a speed colouring of one of these, just so you guys can see how I go about colouring in all these little details. I'm not sure whether I'll use this page or not, but we'll see later down the line what I decide to do. Now on this page you can see I've begun the process of filling in the details of the blank areas that Kerby has left. These butterflies, let's see now, that one's Kerby's, that one, that one, that one and that one. And these butterflies here are all my work. I've tried to channel Kerby when doing this to see if I can match it up enough that it's pretty hard to tell which one's which at a glance. But you don't have to do this, of course. You can fill it in with anything you like. As you can see up here, I've filled it in, or filled this butterfly in just with a bunch of circles. Now to do this page, quick hint, I would begin by taking my pencil, this is a mechanical pencil, but you can use an ordinary pencil, and just draw around the inside of the butterfly wings to give you the margin that Kerby has already suggested in the ones he's done. And then once that's done, just go ahead and fill in whatever doodle or design you want in there. I'm just going to put some dots there. And once you're happy with it, just lightly, don't press. Once you're happy with it, take a fine liner, and in this case I'm using one of my uni pin fine liners. I'd suggest don't go any thicker than a 0.2 if you want to match the pre-existing art. So this is a 0.2 fine liner, and fine liners come in lots of different brands. Just see what you've got around. Keep in mind, if you're going to colour it in with wet media such as markers or textures as we call them in Australia, you'll have to have a waterproof one. There are fine liners that are water-based. They will smudge when you put textures over the top, markers over the top, and then you have these waterproof ones that you can put anything over the top and they won't smudge. Take your fine liner and just go ahead and outline everything that you've drawn, like such. Now to match it in a bit more with Kerby style, I suggest putting a little bit of black areas, maybe a bit of cross-hatching, shading, just so that it all kind of matches his style. You could do the whole thing just in circles, it's fairly easy. There we go. So I'll leave that. When you're finished, let the ink dry, give it at least a good 5 minutes, if not a little bit longer, and then with an eraser just rub out your pencil marks, and there you go, you've done the work. Now you don't have to do that with these pictures, you can do other things. You could just colour in the butterfly just in a nice shades of colour without having to worry about producing any line art, or you could cut out some different textured paper from magazines or craft paper or wrapping paper in the shapes of the butterfly wings and stick them in. there is a lot of things that you could do with it. Just have a think about how you could possibly fill in those blank spaces. And around these I've also just coloured in little halos of colour with a polychromos pencil. And once again, if you're filling it in, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Just, as I say always, it's your work, you do what you like with it. Now, moving on, here is a picture that I have completed with these guys. These are just cheap children's Faber-Castell connector pens. And you're probably familiar with these. They look like that and they pull apart, and when you open them up they have a little fine tip. I have this old pack that I bought years and years ago. They do last very well actually. This pack is at least, I would say 12 years old, and when I pulled them out only 3 of them needed to be chucked. The rest worked fine. Now these ones I've used mostly in this. I've used one grey Tombow, which is a big, thick, chunky brush tip marker to do the big rhino head. But these ones, I've just used those little connector pens and varied up the colours. I've chosen, say in this one, 2 shades of pink, a light pink and a dark pink, so I can do the shading afterwards. And I finished it off with a Uniball white gel pen, a Signo, to just pick out little highlights and flicks of colour here, just to make everything look shiny. Now, in terms of bleed through, I had no problems with bleed through except for, and I think you can just see it there, one red marker from the Faber-Castell range. There it is there, the red rose. And it's just, you can see it there. It isn't dark enough that it bothers me. Quite happy with it. I'll just colour over the top of that. None of the others bled through, so it's a bit of a mystery why that one did nothing. And as you can see, the Tombow as well, there's no bleed through. Just keep in mind that the red one with connector pens may bleed through. There's another big double spread of the cheetahs. Again, another one where they invite you to decorate the feathers before colouring in. Case in point with the plume version printed in the United States. I have seen one version where this poor peacock is completely obliterated, more or less, with only, you know, sort of like a little edge along the sides being visible. A great pity, because it's a really good picture. And in here it's almost perfect, the match-up. The paper lays down fairly straight. I think it actually lies down better than in my versions of Enchanted Forest and Secret Garden. Another one, I've seen this one done beautifully online. There we go, and a pack of wolves. I love this. You could do the wolves all multiple colours, which would be fun. I'll probably do them at versions of their natural colours, I think. This is another very popular piece. They've got quite thick line art in this one, a good beginner's piece. Line, another one which he invites you to draw. This time he's asking you to draw bats. I'm thinking I might draw a vampire sitting in the middle, or maybe a Transylvania castle or something along those lines. These owls are a lot of fun too. I like owls. I think I've mentioned that before in a video. I'm partial to owls. It's actually the Hewitt family crest is 3 owls. Or the shield, I should say, the Hewitt shield. So I kind of like owls. Another one inviting you to add more detail. Now, I'm not quite sure whether these are, I think they're orangutans, but if they are, there are no adult males, because the orangutan adult males have those great big cheek flaps. Or there could be gorillas, or there could be chimpanzees, I'm not sure. Probably not gorillas, probably more chimpanzee-ish. I don't know. Love this one too. And an elephant again that you invited to add more pattern details. You don't have to, you could just colour this in as it is, it's perfectly alright. Doodling crows. Now another piece that I've finished. Now I was saying to you at the start that I'd get back to you about colouring in with cheaper products. This picture was completely coloured in using my Mikador Colour Rush pencils. This is only a 12 pack. I've actually got a 36 pack, and my 36 pack lives here, so I can get to them easily. These pencils are an Australian brand, sorry, so I don't believe they're very easy to get overseas. They cost me $12 for 36, and they are my favourite of all my cheap pencils. The other pencils I used came in this pack, and this is about, I would say 12 years old. I think I bought $3 for 26 in a department store. This is what they look like, and I kind of love these pencils too. $3 for 26, I thought it was such a bargain back then. These are quite unusual pencils. They've got a different feel to a lot of the pencils you buy now, so I use them pretty conservatively. Now that is all I've used to colour in this picture here, and that's to demonstrate to you don't actually need to have big expensive pencils or, you know, artist pencils to produce something that's pretty good. I had a lot of fun with this. I find the colours are slightly brighter with kids' pencils. I think it's probably because they use more dyes than pigments. Try not to. You can't leave these out in the sun though, because they will fade in time, unlike proper artist pencils that don't fade or don't tend to fade as much in bright sunlight. But as this is inside a book, it doesn't really matter. Now we've got another picture that invites you. There's quite a lot of these. If you love doodling, you're going to love this book. And the bear, he may possibly be my next picture to draw, to colour in I should say. Some squids, chameleons, and I love the fox. I'm saving him. I've got an idea for how I want to do him. Page that invites you to draw jellyfish. And you don't have to draw jellyfish. I was thinking of doing a mermaid actually in the centre of that one. And I like this one, a tangle of snakes. Crocodiles, again inviting you to fill them in. The tiger, which you often see coloured in. He looks very impressive. A pair of roosters. That I think is a Komodo dragon. Some orcas. Now you'll notice with these he takes the doodling right up to the line, so I wouldn't use that outline first to, you know, that white border. I think that's just because orcas are basically black and he wants to give the feel of the blackness through his doodling. So the doodles are quite dark. There's a lot of shading and blacking in of, you know, the shadows in different areas. Some toucans. See, lots of potential for bright colours in this book. If you love using a rainbow of colours, this is the book for you. Again, another one that invites you to add more to the picture, but it'd look perfectly fine if you didn't, I think. You could use this for journaling if you wanted to write things in the book. And giant squid attacking a pirate ship. Funny how many books feature flamingos, isn't it? I think a lot of books seem to feature flamingos. They are pink and fun to colour though. Use up your pinks. And some gibbons dancing around a tree. One thing I haven't mentioned in the book is this is also another hidden object book, and here is the list of the objects to find. I like to tick the objects as I find them. I haven't done so here, but I probably will. And there's quite a lot of objects to find. It just gives another dimension to the book. There's more hidden objects. This is a repeat of that picture at the front that I was talking about. And alright, there's the answers to the hidden objects. We'll just flick through those because you've got to look at them. Now at the end of the book here is where I experimented with some of the markers. that I've used. These little guys down here I've coloured with a different type of marker. This one's coloured with gel pens. This one is coloured with pit pens. If you're not familiar with pit pens, they look like this. These are made by Faber-Castell, and they have the really pointy ends on them. I've also got Stabilo 88s. That's these kind of pens. You're probably very familiar with. They've got a wide availability, and they're a fine pointed fine liner, lots of different colours. Both of these, if I turn that over, you'll find that there is a very light shadowing with the pit pen, the grey pit pen. I didn't really get any other bleed through with any of the others that I've used, I can see. Other ones I've used is the Staedtler Tri Plus. These guys. Another gel pen, and that's where I tried my Faber-Castell connector pens. And again, I like to experiment with the way that pencils are going to lay down. Before I went ahead and used the, which ones were they? They were the Mikador Colour Rush. I experimented to see how well they would blend on this paper, and I was very happy with that. I recommend using the back page of all your colouring books to try out your art products first to see how the paper will accept them. I've also, as you can see these little lines here, experimented with a variety of fine liners to make sure that I'd use one that didn't sort of spread or bleed on the page, that kept a nice tight line and didn't come through. And I found that none of the fine liners that I used actually bled through, so they were all good. I would not use alcohol markers in this book. Again, another warning, as with just about every colouring book, alcohol markers will bleed through your page. Now when I'm talking about alcohol markers, I'm talking about Sharpies, Bic markers, Copic markers and other types. There's quite a few. Alcohol markers will just about always bleed through your page and ruin the previous page, so don't go there. Stick with your water-based markers. And that concludes my review. It's quite a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get a lot out of your colouring adventures. And until next time, happy colouring.